Hey guys, it's Cal, and welcome back to another episode of The Worst of Wattpad. Now, I know that I have been gone for quite some time now, right after I said I was going to be uploading more often, so I'd like to apologize for that, but I am back now, I have returned, and I have brought with me another terrible piece of Wattpad fanfiction. This one is called Jeff the Killer, Ex-Male Reader by Ross and Jessica Adams, and it is, oh, it's excellent. I love it so much. You guys are gonna have a grand old time. But on a more serious note, before we do dive in, I would like to say that if you don't want to hear things dealing with abuse or homophobia, you're probably gonna want to click out now because we are gonna get into some of that. I'm gonna skim the abuse a little bit because, well, I'm just gonna skim over it, but some of it is important to the story. And as we all know, you cannot have an edgy creepypasta fanfic without abuse, self-harm, or what's the other big one? Depression. Those are the big three that you gotta include in your edgy creepypasta fanfic. So yeah, if you don't want to hear that stuff, you might wanna watch another. I do have some other videos that you could check out that are a little more lighthearted. But yeah, that's the important thing I wanted to say. And now let's just get into it. So we open up with our main character, Your Name, who, ooh, I gotta name this boy, because I'm not gonna call him Your Name the whole time. We're gonna call him, his name will be George, and I would like you guys to know that I just had to cut there because I sat in silence for like a good 5 minutes trying to come up with the name George. I'm very good at what I do. Anyway, George and his family are moving. They're moving into a new house. The only really important thing I think that happens in this section is we find out that George has a burn on his face because his stepdad, like, shoved his face into an oven. Yeah, we're getting into that right off the bat. Just casually thrown in there, so that's fine. And then I would also like to read this, not because it's important, but because, here, let me read it real quick. Um, his George's sister Riley drops her teddy bear, and he picks it up and hands it back to her, and she says, "Thanks, Oni-san," and I swear to God, I thought that said Onision, and my soul left my goddamn body, boys. But it wasn't. It was not, in fact, Onision. It was some Japanese thing. There's a lot of anime influence in this story, as you shall most certainly see. Um, but anyway, they move into their new house, and George is chilling in his new room, and then he hears his mom call him. He goes, "Yes, Mom," and she says, I want you to introduce yourself to your neighbors." "But Mom, what's wrong? Aren't you finished setting up your room?" "I am, but I'm more of an introvert." "Yes, yes, antisocial, but it's still better to have friends before school starts, so at least you know someone." I hated it, but she was right. "What about my face?" Yeah, because his face is burned, and it has band-aids like wrapped all around it too. I can't really picture it in my head because all I can see is something in like a horror movie where your head is just encased in bandages. But he's talking, so that must not be the case. But anyway, his mom says, "You have a cat mask that you bought for that cartoon still, right?" "Kitsune mask and anime," I mumble angrily, being very defensive over anime. I then go back upstairs and take the kitsune mask and put it on. Okay, and then, "George, are you coming?" Mom yells to me from the bottom of the stairs. "Not anymore. Mask or not, I look like a freaking murderer." "George!" I walk back out. "You do look like a psychopath." "Mom," I say, feeling worse than before. It's one thing for me to say I look bad, but then for my mom to agree, that was something. But, long story short, George argues with his mom a little more, and she's finally like, "Fine, you don't have to go be social, whatever, George." And George talks to his friend, Kim. Kim is her name. He's like texting her. about like creepypastas, which it's always really funny to me with these creepypasta fanfics. Like creepypastas exist, right? Obviously, like they're real, but also they're like in the online version that they are, like in our world. Like they simultaneously have online creepypastas and real life creepypastas, and that's just very strange to me. But yeah, that happens in a lot of these. Anyway, we move on. I'm gonna skim through some stuff. We get to okay, so George is like he's chilling, he's sleeping, and he wakes up like really early in the morning because he can hear some stuff going on. Downstairs. Is this a two-story house? I think it's downstairs. Yeah, downstairs, and he's like, huh, what could that be? So he leaves his room and he heads on downstairs and he sees that like let me see, the sink is okay, no, the sink is off, but it sounded like it was running. And then it says, I moved my way out of the living room I stepped down into and turned to the kitchen. On the counter was a knife that looked wet, like it was just washed, and there was a note next to it. I got closer to the note, and there it said, soap. I was confused and flipped the note. It had nothing on its back. I threw it away and put the knife away in the knife holder. I'm sorry to cut in. I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my brother is watching YouTube in the next room. I'm sorry if that's getting in the background at all. I can see it on my phone. It says he's casting to the TV. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what this whole soap thing is actually. The story's not completely finished, so it could come back up later, but I don't know what's up with the soap. Anyway, he goes off to watch Attack on Titan, and then he just kind of like chills in his bed watching Attack on Titan until it's like daytime for real. The sun comes up and everything, and his mom comes to get him up for school, and it says, I then roll myself out of bed, having me hit my face on the floor to wake me up. I can't go downstairs. I have a terrible illness. Really? What illness? Mom says in a slightly annoyed tone. Why, Dee, it's a serious mental disorder where I can only do stuff if I yearn to do it. Mom then grabs my leg and starts pulling me into the hall, and as we reach the stairs, she stops. This is where you get up and walk downstairs to eat, or I pull you down these steps. I get a good grip on the wall, then Mom starts to pull. I'm not hungry! You're never hungry, Mom says, stopping to breathe with each tug. Then Mom lets go of me and my ankle hits the step. And that's not important to anything. I just thought that was a weird incident where his mom is just literally dragging this teenage boy just like through the hall. That's fine. Anyway, so he goes down to eat breakfast. We do find out that he is bisexual here. But nobody knows that. It's a secret. It's a secret. Um, I'm sorry that I whispered just now. I'm also upset that I did that. There's a lot going on. His dad comes in and he hates, or his stepfather, he hates him very much. Just, which is understandable, but there's a lot of I hate my dad running through his head just constantly. And I do want to read this one sentence where it says, Morning, I mumble under my breath, trying to be polite. Yet it came out as though I wanted him dead. We find out here that George and his family have been invited to this birthday party of somebody. We don't know who it is, but his mom wants him to go to make friends because he is very antisocial. Because I really don't know who the party's for, but that's a big plot point in the original Jeff the Killer, so we gotta have the birthday party. George gets his bandages taken off the next day, and he says, I still have a mark on my face from the stupid burn, and now I look like freaking Todoroki. Is that how you say that, guys? I think that's how you say that. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's not like anyone at school knows what Boku no Hero Academia. At least I don't think anyone will. Why must everything about me be so fucking weird? And, okay, I feel like you're being a little dramatic there, George. It's not like nobody watches. There's a large portion of high school kids who watch anime. I mean, even I know what My Hero Academia is. Like, it's not this obscure thing. I'm pretty sure you can find some friends to enjoy your anime watching with. But then, oh boy, George looks out the window and there are some new people moving in. I have a very bad visual idea of how this is going on because, okay, so okay, here's what's happening. George is looking out the window at these new people moving in. There's two teenage boys. It says one of them had brown hair and green eyes, and the other was a little bit shorter, and he had like lighter brown hair and bluer eyes. Bluer than green, I guess, which is every blue. And he says, okay, wait, he says, this gave me the belief they were brothers, which is the most unnatural way you could possibly word that. But okay, so visually, right, he's looking at his window, he's seeing these two boys. Now, they are in the house that is the house over from him. Like, there's the house next to him, and then there's another house. So I don't know at what angle he's looking at them, and also why he can see the color of their eyes from this distance. It just doesn't really compute in my head, but that's what's happening right now. He's looking at these teenage boys moving into the house. And then his mom wants him to, like, come and meet his new neighbors, and he agrees, because he needs to move the plot along. But it says that his mom, it says she had a strange look on her face, as though I had not only cured cancer, but also managed to win the lottery in the same day. She then fixed a smile onto his face. So she's very surprised that he grudgingly agreed to go with her to say hi to the neighbors. Maybe he is a little too antisocial. Maybe his mom is right. They go over to meet them, and it's Jeff and his brother Lou, and so I'm a little confused because Lou is Jeff's older brother, and I had thought in the original Jeff the Killer that Lou was his little brother, but I could be wrong. It has been a hot minute since I actually read that, and the last time I read a piece of Jeff the Killer fiction was when Jenny Nicholson did her Jeff the Killer video, which is excellent, by the way. You should definitely check that one out. It's kind of the reason I haven't done any Jeff the Killer yet, just because hers was so good, and I don't want to like copy her jokes or anything. But yeah, so that's Jeff and his brother. So yeah, they go over and he meets Jeff, and he's thinking in his head, Jeff, I like that name. It's cute. God, what am I thinking? So, yeah, they have a very short interaction where they really just tell each other their names, and then George goes home, and he is in love with this boy, who he knows zero things about, who he just met, but, he loves him with his entire heart. I'm sorry for that cough. Alright, so now it's the next day, and George is just walking to school with Jeff and Lou. I guess they're all friends now after that very short interaction, but they're friends. And they're walking along to school, and then okay, wait, first, before I get into this next part, we find out that Jeff and Lou are also going to this birthday party, because Jeff is also an antisocial weirdo, and his mom wants him to make more friends. I'm going back into my mom voice. And then, okay, but then, a pack of boys, who I suspected were bullies, came on skateboards. Hell yeah, it's the skateboarding bullies, and they say, looky what we have here, fresh meat, and lots of it. Since you, gay slurs, are new here, we'll introduce ourselves. You don't have to, we don't care, I spat out. I didn't ask your opinion, gay slur, the first boy hissed. That's Keith, he said, pointing to a skinny boy with a droopy face. And that's Troy, he said, pointing to a fatter male. And I'm Brandy. No one asked, I hiss in a begone thought tone. And that is unironically the funniest line I've ever read. I have no idea how to even conceptualize hissing something in a begone thought tone, but that is hilarious to me. So then, of course, they get into a fight. Oh, it's going down now, and it's very intense. Jeff stabs one of the kids in the arm, like, he's alright, he lives, but, like, he stabs him in the arm. These kids are trying to murder each other on the sidewalks of this nice suburban neighborhood, and no one steps in. They just straight up just try to murder each other until, like, the bus comes and cuts them off. It's a lot of kind of boring, like, fight sequence, so I'm just gonna give you the highlights. One important thing is that George gets, like, tackled down and his head hits the concrete, and, it says, I then feel a large amount of pain. Do you, George? Another choice line is he has to bend to touch his stomach out of a human reflex to pain. And that sounds like it was written by an alien. That's the most unnatural sentence I have ever read. Anyway, yeah, one of the kids gets stabbed. And then the bus comes and they run off, and then, George passes out from when he hit his head earlier. There was, he had blood, and he passed out. Oh boy. We actually skip over to Jeff's point of view for a little bit, and he sees George pass out, and he and Lou get George to the hospital. Um, and for some reason, George's family never comes to visit him in the hospital, and I don't like they say that in the book, and they never really say why. They just don't. Like I know his dad is terrible, but his mom and sister aren't, so I don't know. But no, but they don't go to visit him. And now, because Jeff stabbed someone, the police do get involved. But Lou takes the fall and was like, "No, it's okay. I stabbed him. It wasn't Jeff." And then they take Lou to the insane asylum, and they just kind of take his word for it. They're just like, "Oh, you did it? Okay. It's to the insane asylum with you, buddy. Let's go." And then they say, okay, the doctors say that George is doing better and he's gonna make it to the kid's birthday party, and Jeff is going too still. Their moms are still making them go in spite of these traumatic events. At this point, by the way, George has been unconscious for an entire week. I don't know how hard he hit his head on the pavement, but he straight up went into a coma. Um, and at this point, we're having Jeff's point of view for a little bit. He low key kisses George while he's in a coma and unconscious, which is not great. That's not the best thing I've ever heard, but it happens. And then George wakes up shortly afterwards. Um, and he actually knew, like, when Jeff kissed him, like, he was a little bit awake. But Jeff doesn't know that he knew that he kissed him. At this point, George goes home and he finds out his mom is trying to send him and Riley away to, like, live with their uncle because his abusive dad is being abusive and she wants them, like, to be safe. But, George is, like, pissed about this. Like, oh, he is mad. He's one angry boy, because his mom is, like, staying with his dad, and I don't know. He's real mad about it. And so he runs off to go and live with Jeff, whose parents are apparently not there. I think they might be on some kind of anniversary thing. So yeah, he goes over and he's like, "Jeff, I have to live with you now." Um, and then, the next part is, like, mainly fluff. Of him just, like, being in Jeff's house and it's all, like, nice and domestic. You know how it be. But we do get this part where, not Jeff, George gets this text message that, again, it says, "Soap. Sleep with one eye open." And I would like you guys to know that I saw this. I saw the word soap in all caps with a line under it that said "sleep with one eye open." And I immediately had, like, a revelation, and I was like, "Oh, soap, the letters stand for sleep with one eye open." They stand for sleep with one eye. Look at this. I'm putting it on the screen. Look at it. I thought that the first letter of "sleep with one eye open" of every word spelled soap. None of those letters are the same except for the first one, and I wish I could explain why that made sense to me, but I cannot. That's just a fact of what happens. So he just still doesn't know what soap means, and neither do I. I just feel like I might make another video, like, once. I say that all the time. I might make another video once they update, and I never do. I might post something about it in my community tab if I ever find out is the real thing that I should say. Um, Anyway, that happens, and then, George has, like, this heart-to-heart with Jeff, telling him about, like, the whole situation that happened, and I'd like to read one bit of, George's internal monologue for you, because in his head, he's thinking, "I touched the burn mark on my face. It was going back to my normal skin, but it was still only halfway normal. The burn was still intact. But it wasn't permanent, like the cut on my heart from my mother's betrayal. Oh, oh, poor George. His mother tried to save his life. I'm so sorry, George. He tells Jeff about like the abuse, and then it says his blue orbs widen. Oh my, oh boy, oh my God, we finally got it. We finally got it, boys. That is a Wattpad classic, the orbs. I'm so glad we finally ran into that. Look up on my screen here right now. I'm gonna put an orb counter because this is gonna come back. I can tell you that. So they have this whole heart to heart, and Jeff is like, "Ooh, Jeff, he sure is mad." Jeff is thinking, "Oh, buddy, oh boy, I'm about to do some murdering." But he doesn't think it like that. He thinks that he's gonna make him go to sleep because that's Jeff the Killer's catchphrase. That's some creepy foreshadowing for you. Foreshadowing for you, kids. Um, then my thought was broken by a hand on my shoulder. This is Jeff, by the way. We're back to Jeff's point of view. Then I noticed the sparkling orbs looking into my own. He looked sad. Jeff, it's okay. I'm fine. Those words. Why is he lying to me? He can tell me he's not fine. Oh boy. So they have that nice little heart to heart. And then, let me skip through some of this. There's a lot of fan art in here. Maybe I'll put some of that in the video. And then we go to the next part. Oh, they have there was only one bed conversation about, like, for a while they're like, oh, one of us could sleep on the couch, but of course they decided that they're gonna sleep in the same bed because we know that's the way it's gonna go down. Um, okay, at this point, George reveals the fact that he knew that Jeff kissed him when he was unconscious, but I guess that's okay, because he was into it. And Jeff's like, oh, you were awake for that? And George is like, yeah, I'm not a Disney princess who wakes up after being kissed, I say, looking away from the brunette, except that's kind of exactly what happened. I can feel those beautiful blue eyes staring holes through my back. Please stop looking at me, I think to myself, knowing this wasn't going to happen. Then I hear something I didn't expect to ever come out of Jeff's mouth. Did you like it? He asked. I smirk. Why, want another one? He blushes. Maybe, he muttered. I just barely heard him. I won't lie then. I did. Did what? He asked. Like the kiss, dumbass, I hiss, blushing. I look away from him, but I can feel his piercing blue glare on my back, cutting holes through my back. Please don't look at me, I think to myself. But I know that wasn't going to happen. I feel like I just read that, but I think it's just repetitive. His crystal blue orbs had met mine as I turned back to look at him. He then grabbed my arm. Jeff, what are you? I was silenced by Jeff's lips smashing against my own. This kiss lingered longer than the first we had shared. Yeah, 'cause you were unconscious the last time. Oh boy. Um, Jeff tugged me down slightly, adjusting our position to help him win in our face battle. Yes, our face battle. That is quite an interesting choice of words. We also get another Wattpad classic in which their tongues fought and danced for dominance. Classic. You gotta have it. Anyway, they make out for a while. It's all great and nice. Um, and then we go on to the next part. They like go to sleep. In the one bed that they got. And then inexplicably, George just the next day kind of just goes back to his house as though this whole situation didn't happen. I don't understand, but it's fine. He's just back in his home now. Um, He's also, George left his phone at Jeff's house. That comes up a bit later. Although it's really, actually, now that I think of it, it's not that important. But it does come up again later. It just doesn't have that much effect on the story. He hears these girls talking about how they think Jeff is cute, and he's very upset by this because he loves him, and I don't know why he's so. I mean, if the girls think he's cute, whatever. Like, it doesn't. It. It's. I'm mumbling. It doesn't matter, is what I'm saying. And then later, George goes to, like, have lunch with Jeff in the cafeteria, and they have another conversation with the skateboard boys, by which I just mean the bullies. It's great. Again, straight up trying to murder each other in the middle of the cafeteria now, and it takes a long time for someone to stop them. Like, they're like, oh, the teachers went around, but, like, were there no, like, I don't know, like, lunch serving people? Do they really just leave? See, here's the problem. I never went to public school, but do they really just leave them, like, completely unsupervised in the cafeteria? Like, there's no one there to stop them from trying to kill each other? I guess not. Anyway, yeah, another long extended fight scene. We're just gonna hit a few of the zingers this time. There's some great zingers in here, boys. Such as, you seem to like getting stabbed. Another good one is, where's that one? Oh, is that a threat, Asylum Boy? Which I don't understand because Lou is the one in the asylum, not Jeff, who that was directed at. Another good one is, you little homosexual prick! But anyway, all of this trying to murder each other, gets all of them suspended. Also, when goes back home, when George goes back home, like, everyone's there now. His mom and his sister, too. Alright, everybody is home again. Chill. Okay, and now we get to learn about, okay, like, it's the middle of the night, George goes down, the sink is full of soap, like bars of soap, which I guess is another sign of something, and we get to meet, Shade, who is like, okay, it says, a darker form cloning of myself. So, Shade is like evil George. I don't really know where he comes from, but he's like this, like, apparition of George, and he wants George to kill people, cause he's like, oh, you sure hate your stepfather, don't you? And he's like, I bet that you would like to kill him, and then he, like, chants, like, kill him, kill him, kill him. Anyway, yeah, but George isn't quite ready to go to murder, but this dark, crap. I hate when, if you guys ever go on Wattpad on desktop, and, like, it's like the part where you're supposed to click continue reading next part, and then they pop up an ad right there, and so you accidentally click on the ad. That's what just happened to me, and I was annoyed. Anyway, yeah, so, yeah, evil George is here now. That's another part of the story. We find out that nobody else can, like, see or hear Shade. It's just George, and also, like, if Shade gets hurt, he can export the pain onto George. That was a weird way to say it, but, like, Shade doesn't feel pain, George will. George will do that. We'll feel the pain. George goes to watch some anime, like he does, and then he's playing the theme song real loud, and he's singing along at the top of his lungs, and then we get Jeff's point of view, and we get my favorite line in this entire goddamn book, because it opens by saying, I was thinking about knives when I heard what sounded like George screaming in another language, just like, he wasn't doing anything, he was just chilling in his house, thinking about knives, and then he, like, runs over, he's like, oh, no, what happened to George, which also, how loud was George screaming that Jeff can hear him from inside his house 2 houses down? Like, I mean, I know my whole family knows that sometimes I'll be in here like singing musical soundtracks very loudly and they can hear it, but I'm pretty sure my neighbors, I hope my neighbors can't all hear it. I don't think that they can. So Jeff races over there and he's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And it's okay because he was just singing an anime theme song. Because he says that he is an otaku, because that's he's an otaku. I don't know what my point is. And then they're chilling out, and George is like, "Oh dang, where's my? I can't even find my phone. I don't know where it's been." And Jeff has had it this whole time, and like he just hasn't had the chance to give it to him, which is weird because they've seen each other a lot of times, and he could have just been like, "Hey man, hey buddy, I got your phone here, bro. Here you go." But that hasn't happened yet. But now he's like, "Oh yeah, I got your phone," and he hands it over, and George is like, "Oh my God, I love you," and then he's like, "Oh crap, I said that I love him. Oh man, that was an accident." But Jeff's like, "No, I also like you, so it's chill." He doesn't say he loves him though. He's just like, "I like you too," but George is okay with that. Um, Okay, and then they start making out again, and we are gonna have to read a little bit of this because oh my God, it's amazing. This is pure gold. Okay, so it says, okay, whose point of view is this? This is what's his name? It's I named him. It's George. It's George's point of view, and it says, "When I looked into his alluring blue eyes, I saw no lies, nothing but bitter lust." Which is an odd turn of phrase. I'm not entirely sure what bitter lust is, but it's what is the look in Jeff's eyes. Um, okay, and then they're kissing, and it says, um, wait, where's the part I'm looking for? Okay, okay, okay. So Jeff like sticks his tongue in George's mouth, and it says, "He licked the roof of my mouth and all of its sides." And if if someone licked the roof of my mouth, I would like fight. I wouldn't hit somebody. I would be like, what the heck? What is that you're doing there? I don't care for that. Maybe somebody does, but that is an odd thing. Is an odd thing for me. There's just a lot of focus on him licking all of the inside of his mouth. Anyway, they're like on the couch and they're making out, and then like his mom walks in. They're like, "Oh shit, oh dang it." But she's kind of just like whatever. So, because they know like his stepfather is like super homophobic, but she's kind of just like it's chill, it's whatever. I knew you were not a straight man already. Um, Anyway, I don't know if you guys remember about Shade, the guy I mentioned before. But Shade is here. He's like chilling, watching what's going on, being all snarky. It's like if you guys ever saw like Death Note, who's the guy Ryuk, who's just kind of like in the background while Light is trying to do his stuff and is just like making his snarky comments. It's like it's exactly like that. Um, and he's like, okay, so George like throws this pillow at him, and he's like, "Don't do that. I'm not a test subject, you idiot. Stab me, and you'll be the one bleeding," he half yelled in a threatening tone. The last part more quiet and darker than the words before it. So maybe I should reread that. I don't know how to say it in a way where I'm yelling in a quiet way, but that's what happened. Let me see here. George is drawing pictures of Jeff. Oh, isn't that a nice thing? He draws him like an anime guy, because that's how he does it. Um, and then a bit later, Jeff and George have got to go to Billy's birthday party, which is that this is a part that is in like the actual canon of Jeff the Killer, because they go to this birthday party and they run into the skateboard boys again, like they always do, and they fight, and let me see here. Let me hit the important points. George gets shot, actually, so I guess these children also have guns, and then, but Jeff gets hit over the head with a bottle of vodka, which has been produced from somewhere, and, I mean, that's canon too, I'm pretty sure, so that's important. And Jeff is, like, not happy because Randy shot his boyfriend, so he's like, Randy, that's not cool. So he tries to, like, kill him, and then he gets where's the part? Oh yeah, he gets, like, bleach poured on him also, because that's another part of canon. And then Keith, one of the skateboard boys, sets him on fire. And let me see here. Okay, they get, like, an ambulance. Um and then, okay, so, like, apparently, even though, George got shot, like, he recovers pretty quickly. Jeff is still in the hospital for a good, like, week or so. And George goes back home, and, like, his stepdad figured out that that he was dating Jeff, and he's, like, mad about that, because, he's homophobic. And then, like, he's, like, yelling at, George, but then the mom's like, hey, you need to chill it down, buddy. And then they get into, then he's, like, beating her up. And then okay, where does it go? Okay, so Shade's like, you need to fucking kill this guy, man. Kill your stepfather. Look what he's doing. And George's like, oh no, I can't, like, murder him or whatever. And then um the stepdad, it says, then he pushed her on the wall, abandoned, backed away laughing. I looked at my mom, or now her corpse. Her head was impaled with the thing we used to keep our coats on the wall. She didn't move, blink, or even breathe. All she did was stare and bleed. So she's now been murdered. So now George is like, yeah, fuck it, yeah, I am gonna murder this guy. It's time for murdering. So he gets a knife and he stabs him, and he's like, you don't deserve to be happy. Which I guess that's his catchphrase, because that's a weird thing to say. Like, I mean, I guess, yeah, but it's a weird thing to say. He stabs him a lot. Like, he stabs him a lot. And he, like, cuts open his stomach. It says, like, he was doing surgery, so I guess in, like, that Y cut they do. And he, like, pulls out his organs. Um, yeah, so he does a lot of stabbing, and then for some reason he goes and he murders his sister, and he's got, like, something going on his head where he's like, oh, I'm, like, freeing her, protecting her or something, but I don't know. I don't understand why he murdered her. I understand why he murdered his stepdad, but I don't know why he murdered his sister, but he did it. Everyone is in his house is just now dead. We now go over to Jeff for a bit, so Lou has been released from the insane asylum, and he's over at the hospital with Jeff, who is now, he's awake, he's conscious. They take off the bandages, and he looks like actual Jeff the Killer now, because his skin is all pale, and his hair, it turned to black, and it's long and messy, because that's how it goes when you get set on fire. That's how he looks now. And he's like, "This is great. I look heckin' great, boys. I've never looked this good in my life." So he's real happy about it. He's like, "This is good. This is awesome." And then let me see here. I think we get a bit where let's see, George, like, disposed of the bodies. He's weirdly chill about all this. He's just like, good time to dispose of the bodies of my family members. Like, he doesn't feel bad about this at all. He's just like, that's what happened. That's how it went down. Um, and if it seems like I'm, like, missing something because of the abrupt change of character, just know that I'm not. It literally just went from he was just a nice, just, like, kind of nerdy, just anime boy. Like, he was chill, he was nice, to just being, like, a absolutely psychopathic murderer. That did happen as abruptly as it sounds. There was no lead into that at all. Nor is there to what happens next, which is the meat of the Jeff the Killer saga, in which Jeff goes on home, and he's like, I'm beautiful. Like, I'm just like an absolutely gorgeous man. And I wish that I could just see my face all of the time. Like, every time I blink, I can't even see my face, and that sucks, man, because my face is gorgeous. So it's time for me to cut off my eyelids, which I can't blame the writer for this one because this is what happens in the actual creepypasta, but I would just like to know, like, you can't see yourself anyway. Unless you're looking in a mirror all the time. So why is cutting your eyelids off just gonna help? Unless you're also gonna carry a mirror. Like, maybe if you had, like, make some kind of rig, so like you got a mirror in front of your face all the time, and also cut off your eyelids. But just cutting off your eyelids itself isn't gonna help anything. He also cuts like a smile in his mouth, so he can always be happy. And there's no lead into this whatsoever. It just kind of happens. There's a little bit before where he's like, "Oh, I'm so beautiful," and then this just happens. There's no like explanation of the way that like his mind declines into this or anything at all. And we've had so long to get to this. This is something actually that Jenny Nicholson pointed out in her. It was a separate Jeff the Killer fan fiction, but it had a similar problem where like this is such a dramatic event that needs to happen, and you should probably be building to it for the whole thing, but it's just kind of like romantic fluff and also like fighting bullies for the whole time until we get to this point, and it just comes out of heckin' nowhere. It just happens. So he does that. And Jeff does that. And then he goes over into his parents' room, and he's like, this is the thing that he says in the actual story, I think, too, where he's like, "Mommy, aren't I beautiful?" And she's like, "No." And then he stabs her. And then he stabs her father. And he murders everyone because they don't think he's beautiful. And also his brother, also for no reason. I don't understand why they murdered their siblings who did nothing. Also his parents did nothing, but, like, they didn't think that he was beautiful, and he clearly was beautiful. Yeah, so he murders, and then he runs off into the woods. And at this point, their stories kind of diverge because they're both doing their own murdery things on their own. They're both just enjoying the murdering sprees. George has really got a taste for it, and he's like, "I'm gonna murder people because this is great. Like, this is such a fun time." So they're both off murdering on their own. Jeff's getting on the news more because he like cuts people's faces like him and stuff. So like he's like a famous serial killer now. And George is kind of upset. He's like, I wish that I was famous and also that, Jeff didn't run off and not come to visit me because I don't like that. But, Jeff doesn't know that, George is a murderer. So he's like, oh, I probably shouldn't go back to him because I'm like, he doesn't know that George is also a murderer because he's like, I'm a murderer, so, he won't like that I'm a murderer. Um, okay, George is at his home, and his friend Kim, like, comes for, like, a surprise visit. Kim from earlier, who's texting about creepypastas. And she's like, "Where's Riley and your mom?" Kim asked, hitting a nerve in me as my face darkened. "She's dead, Kim." Kim laughed. "Yeah, right. You could have heard a fly." And I don't know why Kim equated "she's dead" to, I fucking murdered them, but she immediately went there. And then she was like, "Oh my god, you literally did it, cause look at your evil face that you're making." But George feels kind of bad about it. He's like, "I wanted to cry, remembering what I was doing, but my face could only scrunch up with a look of anger, sadness, fear, and confusion. I shouldn't have said anything." Just listen to me. You killed your own sister?" she shrieked. "Not so loud," I yelled at her. She started looking around. I could nearly hear her beating heart. She was looking for an escape. So Kim's like, not happy. Kim's like, "This, bro, it's not chill to murder your family, bro." And he's like, you gotta stop, because if you're gonna turn me in, then I have to also murder you." And then it says, "You're insane," Kim shrieked, slapping me and attempting to take the knife from me. I started laughing at her stupidity. I pushed her off. You think you can just slap me twice without me doing anything? I smile. I was going to enjoy this. He switched, like, gears really fast from being like, oh man, I feel bad and I don't want to murder her, to just like, you know what? I forgot how great murdering is. It says, I smirked, stretched myself out, trying to make myself look taller than I was, and then in a quick and strength-filled blow, I shoved the knife into her stomach. And then I whisper into her ear as she bends lower from pain, holding the fresh cut. Haven't you noticed? I always was. Insanity crept on my voice as I laughed at her pain. I feel myself lose sympathy. I kick her over and stab her once more, but this inspired me to continue to stab over and over. It's funny I knew her all my life, but now I feel nothing but happiness stabbing her to death. That's very funny, George. It's so weird when it be like that. Yeah, so he murders her. He murders her. And then the police are coming because she was like screaming and people heard it. So the police come and they're like chasing him and he runs off into, dashes into the woods to escape. And then it says, I see the silhouette figure of a person, which you could just say silhouette. Then you don't have to say silhouette figure. That's not how that works. But then, you know what the silhouette is? It says, the same man that I drew for Kim, which I don't know if I mentioned that, but it was Slender Man. Oh my goodness. I back away and I try not to stare at that faceless man. I just stand there, not fully believing what I was seeing. I guess Kim was right about something. So Slender Man also exists in this world. And Slender Man is here now. And it says, I am then grabbed by the leg with one of his tendrils. I wavered upside down. I watched too much anime to know where this is going. So I move around struggling to get free. And I'm not sure if that means what I think it means, but I think it might, and I don't like it. I don't feel good about it, but I'm pretty sure that's what that means. But then, he just kind of like, he passes out. George passes out. And then he wakes up and he's like, oh, I'm in a room, and where did I come to? And someone else in this room is there and is like talking to him, and he's like, who are you and where are we? And I think I have an idea of where they are, and when I read that, I got so excited because I was like, oh, I didn't even know it was gonna go here. Are we here? And guess what? We are in the Slender Mansion, and this is, who is this? Who's in the room with him? It's Tiki Toby, I think. Or, you know that guy. I don't know if I said that right, but you know the guy. He's there. That other creepypasta guy is also there, and then Jeff is here too. And Tiki Toby is kind of like intimidating George, but then Jeff is like, touch him again and I'll kill your kidney eating ass. He says that, and then George is like, oh my goodness, oh boy, you're here also in the killing mansion. And Jeff is like, yeah, I'm glad you don't mind me killing people. He smirked. Why would I? It's not like I'm not a murderer too, I say plainly, pushing back a few hairs from my face. He gave me a strange look, as if this was new to him. I thought that was at least a single factor of why I was here, but to my surprise he asked how many. But then again, what did I expect him to ask me after saying that? 4. Rookie number, he muttered under his breath. I sulk slightly, remembering that the police knew who I was, meaning I couldn't go back for my anime merchandise or return to the house. Why am I here anyway, Jeff? I don't know, but if Slendy wanted you alive, then he was most likely interested in you, and he's probably gonna make you into a proxy, which are like the minions of Slender Man, in case you didn't know. Otherwise, he would have just killed you in the woods. And scene. That is the end of everything so far, boys, and I feel I really didn't know this was gonna end up in the Slender Mansion. I should have known, and I'm happy that that's where we get to end it. That's a pretty satisfying conclusion to me. Yeah, so that was Jeff the Killer X Male Reader. I hope you guys enjoyed, and once again, I'm sorry I was gone for so long. I can't really promise that it's not gonna happen again, because I'm a very inconsistent person, and I apologize. Yeah, but that's about all I got for you guys, today. Hopefully I will be back kind of soon, because I did tell my sister I would do a collab with her. It's a Five Nights at Freddy's thing. So that should be coming up sometime in the future. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.